Joined now in the studio by the noted public policy expert and supporter of Atiku Abubakar and the main opposition People's Democratic Party, Professor Usman Yusuf. Thank you very much indeed, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Charles.
What's your reaction to the DSS in effect saying that some people are planning to disrupt the democratic process in this country, install an interim government and prevent the presidential inauguration from taking place in May?
Yeah. These are very weighty and heavy allegations that they presented without evidence. We salute the DSS for their service to the nation. Now it's very, very, very difficult time in this country that requires wisdom. And I don't see wisdom in what the statement is set out. What is the purpose of the statement? You should be talking to the DSS for them to explain to Nigerians what they mean by that.
Well, we certainly have tried.
Yeah, I know. But the point is, what is the purpose? At a time when millions of Nigerians are aggrieved after a flawed election, and I have been on record saying it's flawed, in real time, even before the result was announced. And here you are, the screamy part of a ruling party, throwing a lot of inciting things. People are aggrieved. Now is the time for sane people to come in and calm people's nerves, not for an intelligence agency to come out and tell the world, oh, we know there are some people trying to literally overthrow the government and install an interim government. Who are these people? In the UK, does MI5 come and say, oh, we know there are people and walk away? Or in the United States, the FBI say, we know there are people and walk away?
Nevertheless, I mean, you're not disagreeing with the DSS and its role as keeper of the peace and law and order, because, I mean, you mentioned America. We saw how the FBI moved in when in the US attempts were made to storm Congress and prevent the certification of the presidential election.
Right. So DSS, don't come and tell us we know you're going. It's like EFCC coming to tell us we are keeping an eye on thieves stealing money. That's not what we want to hear. What we want to hear is what you have done and how you can reassure Nigerians. Now, what do you want Nigerians to do? Be fearful? Another NSAS insurrection is coming? What are you doing about it? So that's not wise. If there are people, truly there is a plot to do what you're saying they're doing, go get them. That's what you're paid to do.
But does the fact that the allegation is coming from the DSS make it more credible and therefore more alarming? Or are you one of those who believes that the DSS is a cooperating part of the ruling party and has simply tapped into their wishes to scare away those who continue to question the legitimacy of the election result and who might want to exercise their right to peaceful
Good.
protest?
I have a lot of respect for the DSS, but they have not reassured me that what they are doing is without prejudice. I looked at what they were saying, that the method they say these suspects are going to use to incite riots across several cities in the country, like NSAS, which they failed. They failed to preempt. NSAS was essentially an intelligence failure. So is the DSS trying to overcorrect for their failure of NSAS insurrection? Another thing they're saying, or the second method these guys are going to use is frivolous lawsuits.
Yes, I was coming to
right.
that.
So who is the DSS? Is the DSS qualified to say any case is frivolous? That's not in the, they should drive within their lane. It's not up to them to say a case is frivolous or not. It's not. So they are driving into somebody else's lane. Essentially, this is the way I see it. Number one or two things. Number one is that they are trying to rattle the cage and scare whoever they think they want to scare. Or number two, They are following the toe line of the APC. Because the APC, the screaming part of the APC, were the ones who started this idea of interim government. One even was saying the coup, and it was the same DSS that invited him for invitation. Oh, now all of a sudden the DSS is towing that line. Say, oh, the interim, then DSS, when did you know this? Did you know this after the screaming part of APC started saying this? So you are towing the line of the ruling party, number one. Number two, you are essentially, and I looked at what they were saying, they were even warning or advising the judiciary not to. So you're telling people the right to protest in a democracy is enshrined in our constitution. We see what's happening in France. We see what's happening currently in Israel. Democracy is messy. People have the right to protest and agitate.
Absolutely.
Within legal terms. So the DSS, what I see is, are they using whatever they're saying as an alibi to go after people or to stop people from doing that which the Constitution gives them the power to do?
Which is a peaceful protest.
Absolutely, peaceful protest.
And
Anywhere
also
in this
the
country.
right to go to court.
Absolutely, the right to go to court, the right to peaceful protest is theirs. And that is what this DSS statement is coming out to tell us. Oh, they are going to protest or they are going to court. Hello, this is the right of every citizen to do that. And all the parties that are aggrieved with this election have taken their cases to court. And we have been telling our supporters all along to remain prayerful and calm.
In fact, I have to say that I would commend the opposition for the way that they have kept the lid on the disenchantment that rocked this country and I think continues to rock the country.
And it honestly has not been easy.
I can imagine.
And it's made worse by these people that think they've won the election coming out to make insightful statements. I do not see an adult coming to tell them, hey, shut up. We have business to do. We have a nation to heal. This is not the time to make this inciting statement. And DSS, do your job. Don't get into politics. People have the right to go to court. People have the right to protest anywhere in this country. And do not decriminalize, do not criminalize all of these. And we are watching very closely. This should not be a threat to Nigerians to do what the Constitution gives them the right to do. All we are telling our people is do things according to the law. And it's in the courts. The judiciary will do the right thing. And nobody, no agency will tell the courts what is frivolous. It's not within the purview of any security agencies to tell them that. So
but
it's wrong.
Are there concerns within opposition ranks, certainly the branch of the opposition, that's the PDP, that these kinds of statements from the DSS might actually make the judiciary a little bit nervous?
No, I don't think so. The judiciary cannot be rattled by this. The judiciary has been around longer than the DSS. They are honorable men and women, and the eyes of the world is on them. They have a weighty responsibility.
Well, the eyes of the world have been on them in the past.
Well, this time around more than ever before.
Right.
This nation it's on the tenterhooks. Now is not the time for this kind of statement. They know, DSS knows how to do their job quietly without coming out. What I see is this eye service. What in Nigeria we call eye service. The next government is coming, oh, let's show you we are doing something for you. No. The DSS, you are not for any party. You are to protect the territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and its citizens, not any particular party. The person that is said to have won this election by 8,000, and there are 82,000 registered eligible voters, so 10%. This is not the time to go and, this is the time to pull everybody together, to bring the healing and calming and soothing.
Well, they could make the argument that that's what they're doing.
Who is?
The DSS. they could make the argument to say that they're trying to prevent the lid from being taken off
not at all.
the cauldron.
Not at all. They are muddling the water. They're telling, oh, there are some people trying to do bad things. Oh, we saw them meeting at night. Don't tell us this. Just go do it. Get them. You remember that Nike, the logo of Nike? This thing is just do it. What is all this talk? Just go and do your work and tell Nigerians, we cut this guy because of this, and this is the evidence we are taking them to court. This serves no purpose at all. At all. It's making people more jittery and it's making people more angry. I'm thinking that the DSS is working for the ruling party, not Nigeria.
Meanwhile, we're seeing protests. I mean, we have seen protests little protests here and there for and against Bola Tinubu's election in parts of Nigeria. Do you think things like that are heating things up and adding to the tension as May 29th approaches?
No, and you know, this is normal. Absolutely normal. If there is no protest, then you will say, where is everybody? People should protest, but do it peacefully. For and against Bola Tinubu and whoever else you want to protest against. Everything is before the courts. And people will accept whatever the courts say. And this is how democracies are ruled. We are a nation flaws. With all our flaws, we must protect the territorial integrity and our democracy that many people have died for. Nobody will come, either security agencies or politicians, reckless politicians, come and destroy what we've built. Over the last 24 years, people have died for this. And this country, people have shed their blood, many were left on the battlefield for us to be the Nigeria we are today. Nobody is going to destroy this country where we'll all sit down with, be it a politician or a reckless politician. That's why we're here. We raise our voices, we tell people, just calm down. It's not the end of the world. This thing is before the courts, this thing will be adjudicated.
It's interesting that through all this, including all the ethno-religious rumbles, President Buhari has maintained an almost sepulchral silence. Is it time for him to speak and try to calm things down?
Good luck. President Buhari never speaks. Never ever speaks. Allow him just to rest his few days, he's watching the clock and he gets off the stage.
But are you concerned by the ethno-religious rumbles?
Yeah, very concerned. I mean, I wrote an article about the danger, the national security implications of religion and ethnicity coming into politics. And we're seeing that. We saw what happened in Lagos. I mean, this country was this close. Lagos would have exploded if they allowed rascals to destroy this country. You don't allow that. People have lived in peace for generations, and reckless politicians will come and destroy what many have died for. They need to be called to order, and that is the duty, and one of the duties and responsibilities of the DSS. Not to come and tell us things are happening, but to even have found out how these elections were rigged all over the place and stopped them. And the national security implications of same-faith tickets, excluding a large population of Nigerians. And now we are back to my fear. I mean, I'm old enough, I've lived, alhamdulillah, I've lived 62 going to 63 in this country. We've seen ethnic, we've seen regional, and we are now seeing, thanks to all these politicians from the president in 2011 till now, they have been injecting religion into this. From bringing pastors into this, from going to churches, from doing the same faith ticket. My fear is Nigeria cannot stand a religious war. See what's happened in Lebanon? Beautiful city, beautiful country, beautiful people. 15 years of war, civil war.
So people would say that the bigger concern right now appears to be ethnic rather than religious.
It's the same. It depends on where you are. In the Southwest, religion is not as big. In the Southeast, it's ethnicity. In the north is religion. That was why they did the Muslim to divide
Yes,
the
I see the
Muslim,
point you're making.
to divide Muslims from Christians. So it's all divisive from day one. It's not winning the election, that's the easy part. But coupling together a fractured nation at a time like this, when we have not seen this much insecurity, when we have not seen this much poverty and this much animosity across all 6 geopolitical zones, it requires somebody who can stitch this nation back together.
I know you said that, I mean, that what you just said kind of refocuses attention on President Buhari. I mean, you said he should just be allowed to kind of, stroll away. But no matter how this contested election and how this period ends, how much is it likely to be a stain on President Buhari's legacy?
Right. I mean, his legacy, we have seen it the last 8 years has been. I mean, I'm tired of speaking about this government and their failings. That we're just leaving them to the history, to the verdict of history and God Almighty. He said he's done his part.
So let's not look back, let's look forward.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on the transition?
On the transition, if you ask me, the transition so far has been messy. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. You now see a transition that is contentious. A person who is said to have gotten only less than 10% of the total registered votes. 8 million votes in a country where 82 million registered, in a country of 200 million. So it's not an election that is contested. What gives any government legitimacy is the free, fair, and credibility of an election. And this is questioned. Legitimacy internationally, nationally and internationally. You need to read all the New York Times, London Times, and all the foreign publications, how they are not very complimentary of the way the elections were held.
Well, I was going to actually ask you, now that you look back a month after that election, what's your post-mortem assessment?
My post-mortem assessment is, number one, INEC did not handle this election well. It didn't. In spite of all the chairman and the agency promised. They promised repeatedly, again and again, this thing will be transmitted in real time. It didn't happen. I was here on the day it was collated. Nobody talked about beavers on the day of the presidential election. So transmission was, and there are allegations that some shenanigans were done before they came to Abuja. And this will be proven in the courts. We're not going back to re-litigate that. The courts will do that for us. But the election umpire, we've lost faith in the election umpire. I mean, an umpire, democracy is dependent on the umpire. If people have lost faith in the umpire, that is a great risk to democracy. Not this telltale DSS is telling us. Before we get there, if this was a free, fair, and credible election, DSS would not have had to come and talk about this. It would have been clean.
Yeah, given that this is, the election is in court, whatever the outcome, how should Nigeria proceed from here? What's the way forward?
Right, and it depends on the leaders that come in. That's why I say leadership matters. You need to bring people, not this kind of people that are sending inciting and provocative statements that are annoying the hell out of everybody. Show you're a leader. Reach out to everybody. I agree, majority of Nigerians did not vote for me, but I'm a leader for all, and I will show it.
Well, to be fair, he has suggested that.
Who?
Well, Bola Tinubu.
I'm not talking about Bola Tinubu. I'm
Who
talking about whoever comes.
Well, let's leave that one hanging, shall we? Prof, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's always an enormously enlightening experience talking with you. Professor Usman Yusuf is a noted public policy expert, supporter of Atiku Abubakar and the main opposition